Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I'm really glad to be back, frankly. I'll talk a little bit about what was going on in a minute. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce my team, or God's team, I should say, that I have the honor and privilege to manage. First off is Faith. She has been my assistant since the day she was born, probably while she was in her mom's womb too. But she used to sit on the podium when she was a baby and help me do announcements. And then later on, she and her sister would be ushers and they would hand out the affirmation cards at the end. So she's been in my life my whole life, or her whole life, I should say. You weren't born for my whole life. But what was that? Somebody just squeaked. And so she's been my official assistant now, gosh.
Coming up on 5 years.
Coming up on 5 years. Wow. And of course, is now 18 and has this wonderful life that she's living as an 18-year-old, getting to party and do all the things she couldn't do before she was 18. But we're really glad that she's here to serve on the back end of this. When you say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us, she's the one that answers you. And I always look back later to make sure that she has covered everything. But she knows me as well as I know myself pretty much. She grew up 6 blocks away from our house. And so she was over at my house a lot. And being my assistant for the last almost 5 years, she's gotten to know me pretty darn well. So also our soloist today, we're going to be doing a Karen Drucker song. And so while I'm at it, I'll introduce Karen Drucker and Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver because they provide our music, and a lot of what Faith sings is from either one of the two of them. So thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
And then there's my partner in crime, who was my first baby practitioner, has been with me since the 90s, and was my board president for a really long time, and then moved off to Florida. And while we were still in the facility, he couldn't join us. So this software has allowed us to have him back with us again.
Interestingly enough, Fairy Elaine Silver was performing about 2 hours ago, about 5 miles north of here.
Oh, really? Oh, that's great. Yeah.
At the Unity Church up there. So
yeah,
we're here.
She does a lot of that stuff, but she charges, so I can't I can't hire her, so we don't have her here. But anyway, and so he's back with us, and he is going to be our practitioner of the day, meaning that he will pray us in and pray us out, and he's available at the end for our 1-minute miracle, which I will go into a little bit later. So if you're here, please say hi, hello, good morning, however you'd like. Let us know you're here. Thank you for being here, Oz. All right. And today we're going to be talking about myths and fairy tales, a really important theme of relationships. That's all I'm going to say for now. If you'd like to do a watch party, there's a watch party button. You can invite all of your friends to watch with you and be able to communicate back and forth if they have questions. It's a great way for them to see what kind of services we have. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God is everywhere, at all times. For if God is all-powerful, God must be in all things. If God is ever present, God must be right here, right now. If God is eternal, it must be here with us in the past, in the present, in the future, and most importantly, right now, right here, wherever I am, wherever you are. We are surrounded by and embodied by this one great source, this one great force and power that animates us and all of life. It is all one, and it is all very good. And I allow that knowledge and that awareness to penetrate my mind, knowing that each and every thought has that creative power of God, for that is the power that is behind all things. Then I know that there is a better and a more greater perfection that is possible at all times. For I know that that perfection is what is wanting to animate, what is wanting to come forth, what is wanting to come through each of us right now. I accept better things and perfect things as mine and ours right now, right here. I know this is so, and I give thanks that it is so, and I let it be, and I let it roll forth with blessings for all. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Oz. Like I said, if you're here, please say hi, good morning, hello, however you'd like to greet us. Faith will answer you so that you know that we acknowledge you. I have been missing in action. A dear friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, made her transition a week ago last Wednesday. And I was so deep in grief that I just couldn't be with you. And the reason I'm sharing that right now is because I want you to know how much I miss you when I'm not here. And we are all one. And so I am blessed to be with you. I'm blessed to have this time together. Reverend Dr. Marlene Morris was her name. When she would open her Sunday services, she would spend the first 15 minutes just talking to everybody that joined. I don't have that luxury because we try to do music and we've got this whole service. So I don't have that luxury. So Faith is in the background doing that. And that's why I bring that up. But anyway, I'm very sad that she's gone. She was my inspiration for a lot of things. It's hard to do this without her. So let's move into the next song, which is We Are All One.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I have seen, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one.
Okay, then let's see. We're going to move right to Faith singing. I don't remember what song I picked.
Change the way off of the. Let me look at which Joy in Our Hearts album.
Joy in Our Hearts, yeah. Okay, awesome. Here's Faith.
Thank you. What do you want? Where do you want to go? Did you know if it asks you know? It starts with you. Do you believe it? It's all in the way. Do you believe it? It's all in the way that you choose to see it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do do do. When you feel lost and you can't find your way, keep your eye on the prize. It will materialize. You can miss it. Change your perception. Lead your way to a new direction. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do do do. Change, you can do it. Change, it's your thing. Change, expect a miracle. Change, change. You can do it. Change. It's a sure thing. Change. Expect a miracle. Change. Watch you change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. 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 When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I couldn't find the cursor. Thank you, Faith. I love that song. That is one of the best songs. Of course, I love all of Karen Drucker's music. She's just awesome. She's been in our movement for years and years and years and has provided many churches with all of this. She actually has gifted her entire collection to us, which was very special for her to do. Goodness, I don't know how many of you are in my age group, but I'm 66 and we grew up with music that was fairy tales. I mean, seriously, like I can remember listening to songs like I'm going to make you love me or what will I ever do without you or, stuff like that. And really that just fed into the myths and fairy tales that we were raised with. Because I know all of you have watched the same fairy tales or listened to the same fairy tales that I have all my life. Things like Rapunzel, where she lets her hair down and the prince comes and rescues her. He climbs up her hair. I can never quite figure out how they got out of the chamber, but he rescues her and they ride off into the sunset. But what happens with us is that these myths and fairy tales have driven our experience of loving others. And it comes through us. It's not God's love. You've heard me last month, I did a whole series on love. And I talked about God's love being that which flows through us. It comes in through us and out towards others through us. And that's really what's true about love. But we get this idea that we have to be. We have to be a certain way, and our partner has to be a certain way for us to live happily ever after. And so I want to talk about that today. I really I think about these fairy tales and these myths because when I was in the school of ministry, that was really one of the things that I was really interested in studying, because I planned on being a psychologist. I didn't plan on being a minister. That sort of happened in the interim. But but what I really got involved with was spiritual psychology. So while I was in the school of ministry, I kind of focused a lot of my lessons on that, on reading about it and understanding how spiritual psychology affects us. And so we have this distorted idea of what it means to be in a relationship because we were listening to these fairy tales. Some of us watched them, Aesop's fables, on TV. Some of us read books about them, but we were all taught the same thing. And so we live our lives thinking that this other provides all of our happiness. And what's really true is that we provide our own happiness. We choose happiness in every moment. And it's up to us. It's never up to that other person. You know, I've been pretty self-sufficient most of my life, right? I knew how to take care of my own needs. I always have. And for the most part, I was able to do that very successfully. I married a musician who was on the road a lot, and there was only really 3 dates that were important to me that he'd be home for: Valentine's Day, my birthday, which should be, of course, national holiday, and Christmas. And so most of the time, I didn't mind that he was gone from like May to, well, sometimes April to like September, October. I didn't mind that. Because like I said, I'm pretty self-sufficient and it worked out for us. But I had this thing about Valentine's Day. It had to be there. I knew about New Year's Eve because I knew that was part of the package when I started dating him. So Valentine's Day was one of the sacrosanct dates that he couldn't be gone for. And back in 2009, he accepted a gig on Valentine's. And, it was interesting because I was okay that he did that. Just out of the blue, all of a sudden it was okay. I had my little moments where I really had to pull myself together and think, well, he's not going to be around for Valentine's Day. But I started realizing that I usually buy my own candy and flowers anyway, and I take care of my own needs for Valentine's Day. So that was a turning point for us, and he was able to go in 2009 out on the road during Valentine's Day. A case in point is one time, like, he was always forgetting my birthday, okay? And I've been getting ice cream roll cakes from Baskin Robbins since I was about 5 years old. Every year. That was the thing. And what was really true is I was the one who would say to him, go get the roll cake, or I would order it myself and pay for it. But it became this issue one time. He forgot my birthday completely. He actually forgot. And there were no dinner reservations. There was no ice cream cake. There was no presents, nothing. And, I used to have a pretty bad temper, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. I don't live my life that way now, but that particular day, I sat in a car. I remember sitting in this car in a parking lot, screaming at the top of my lungs at him about how I didn't feel like he loved me because he forgot my birthday. And this poor man, I'm screaming and yelling, and this poor man is like, I feel bad for him now when I think about that moment, because I know that in that moment, I released all the demons that I had inside of me, because after that day, I didn't care anymore. Weird. It was like I had to purge them. And he unfortunately was the beneficiary of that anger, and not a good thing to be. But what I realized is, yeah, I was the impetus for all of that. So these days I buy my own roll cake, I order it, I pay for it, my own roll cake. I make the reservations for my dinner. And I go out and buy myself flowers, usually purple roses, because I know that my happiness is something that I choose, and it's not dependent on whether or not he provides flowers and candy on my birthday. Christmas is a whole other thing, because for me, Christmas is about family, or it has been in the past about family. The last couple of years, we haven't been able to get together, so that has shifted how we celebrate Christmas. But it's not about the presents for me. It's about the presence of my family and my family members. Unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to be a thing again. So, because Lynn had the lung transplant, and they've killed off all of his immune system with the anti-rejection drugs, so he can't be around anybody. And so we are figuring out different ways to express our love to each other and be in each other's presence, usually by Zoom or something like that. Duchess, leave it. And so it has become a different thing for Christmas, but he was always home for Christmas, so that was never an issue between us. So the training that got me to that place of recognizing that I'm responsible for my own happiness is religious science. And like I said, I was studying a lot about fairy tales and myths. And think about Sleeping Beauty, for example. Sleeping Beauty was in a coma. Okay. And in order for her to wake up and experience life again, she had to be kissed by her prince. And he kisses her, and she is awoken, and they go off into the, future, happily ever after. And I already talked about Rapunzel, but it's the same kind of story. And a lot of times we want men to rescue us. Now I'm going to pick on men later. Don't worry. I'm an equal opportunity picker-oner. But in women's case, we fall in love with the possible potential of our mate. And we expect them to wake us. In other words, our life is just sort of happening around us. We're not really enjoying it. We're waiting for our prince. And when he comes, then we wake up and our life begins and everything's wonderful. Or in the case of like Rapunzel, we look for a knight in shining armor or a prince to rescue us out of everything that's happened to us. Cinderella's another one. Cinderella was raised, her childhood was awful. And it all turned around when a prince found her because of this glass slipper, and she became the princess, and now she's happy in her life. And we as women look for the possible potentiality in a mate. Like I see him, I see what he's doing now, but I know that he has the potential to be my perfect husband. And so I am going to disregard all of his beliefs about what he wants in life. I'm going to disregard what he needs because I know he's going to be my perfect mate. And so I'm going to have him change to fit the potentiality I see in him. Now, men have a lot of potential that has nothing to do with us, but we focus on the potential of our husband, the potential that makes them that perfect mate for us. So I want us to think about that right now, because it's impossible to meet that expectation, right? It's impossible for someone to change just because we want them to be our perfect mate, right? And so the more we focus on that, the less we focus on our own happiness. And what's really true is we're responsible for our own happiness. Now, men are a totally different situation. They were raised with the same fairy tales, and they're in those fairy tales, but their focus is more on myth. And that is the myth of the princess. They're attracted to the beautiful princess, and they want this princess for their very own. They chase us, they get us, And then they want us to stay this princess the rest of our lives. Never mind that these days, not only are we cooking and cleaning and raising the kids, but now we're going to provide half the income. Now, I don't know too many people who can put in that kind of work on every other level and still maintain this princess facade. It's very difficult. There are people who do it. I don't know how they do it. But somehow or other, that's what men want from a woman. They want this beautiful princess that will stay that way, will always be their princess of their dreams. And oh, by the way, please take care of me, right? And so we have these expectations of each other in relationships that are just unreachable. I'm amazed, really, that any relationship ever works. I'm really amazed that it is today. Like, I can remember, I was very difficult to live with. I probably still am. I don't know. But back then I was really difficult because I hadn't solved my anger issues and took them out on everybody I saw. And so one day, right before our 10-year anniversary, my husband says to me, I've seen a lawyer. I'm moving out. I want a divorce. What was I going to say? I said, okay, all right. And so I started making plans to go to Glenwood, and I shared with my sister that we were breaking up. And she said, oh, no, you can't break up right now. You can't do that right now. Because Mom has spent a lot of time and money and, put a lot of thought into this 10-year anniversary party for you guys. And by the way, it's a surprise, so act surprised. And so I'm like, okay. So I postponed my trip. And we went to this anniversary party and we acted like everything was fine. So everybody felt good, that the people that were there felt good. My mom felt good. We felt awful, but it was okay. And then I left and went to Glenwood Springs. And in Glenwood Springs, my purpose there was to number one, give him a chance to move out. But number two, was to work on myself. So I spent 3 weeks in Glenwood Springs, really not talking to a soul except to order food. And I spent that time in meditation and prayer and journaling. And all I worked on was, how did I get to be the person I am? How did I wind up being such an awful person that nobody could live with, right? And that was my focus. And so when I returned from Glenwood, Lynn says to me, I think we need to work on this. I think this is worth saving. And let me be clear about this. It wasn't my intent to somehow manipulate him into doing that. Sometimes we get this idea that we can pray for someone to change, or that we can somehow work on ourselves to keep that other person. That was not my intent at all. And we cannot change another person through any action that we do. We cannot change another person. That's really important for us to remember. No matter what, we cannot change them. All we can do is to work on ourselves, for ourselves. We can look into some of the behaviors that we have. We can look into the triggers that cause us to behave that way. We can look into the unhealed wounds, so to speak. Not that I like talking about woundology, I really don't, but there's a series of books from Carlos Castaneda that is about Don Juan, the adventures of Don Juan. And he goes down, he's this white man from America who goes down to Mexico and wants to do peyote. That was his point, is he wanted to go try peyote. And so he contacted somebody that he thought would let him do peyote because they use it in ceremonies. And this guy says to him, oh, you have to reach a certain point before we're going to give you peyote. So I'm going to take you under my wing and you're going to learn these lessons, and then we can talk about peyote later. And so he agrees to this. And one of the main teachings that this teacher had for him was that we have holes in our soul. And there are people in the world who will either heal our holes, or they're going to attack us through those holes because they see them and they gain power. They drain us using those holes. And so he's, went along through this process trying to heal all those holes in his soul. And I know that's true. I happen to know that even though it was fantasy, maybe some of it was real, I don't know. I happen to know that all of that is true, because every relationship we've ever had in our life, we've left a piece of ourselves with that person. And any traumatic event that has ever happened to us, we've left a piece of ourselves with that event. And because of that, we have these holes in our soul. And we have a tendency to attract people to us while we have these holes, that will go into those holes and just drain us, just drain the life out of us, because they intuitively know that there's that problem within us. And so our lot in life is really to begin to heal those holes. How do we call our spirit back? How do we replace all those little puzzle pieces that we have left behind with others and with traumatic events? How do we live in this world happy when we're missing pieces of ourselves? So one of the things that I think is most important is for us to recognize people's places in our lives. Lynn and I, obviously stayed together through all of that. And it was through that awareness that I was the only one that could make myself happy that allowed us to do that. And so one of the things that we work on is recognizing that we are responsible for our own feel good. We're responsible for not only our good feelings, but our bad feelings. Well, all of our bad feelings we're responsible for. And once we get that, then we can start working on what causes us to have those bad feelings. We can start cultivating more of the happiness, the good feelings within ourselves. But we have to start within. We cannot expect another person to provide that for us. Now, I was a really angry person. I don't even know. I still to this day don't even know what caused some of it, why I was such an angry person, but I was so angry, in fact, that I would hyperventilate and pass out. And one of the days, one time I was in a grocery store and passed out while I was waiting in line. But I didn't think it was a problem enough to seek help until I was driving on the road and felt myself about to pass out. So I pulled over into the gully kind of in Parker and passed out, and someone found me. And I was taken to the hospital, and I spent about 3 or 4 weeks in the hospital. But when I was there, what we really figured out is that all of my life I had saved up all my anger, and I didn't express it. I knew it was there, but I never expressed it. I always just held on to it really, really tightly. And so they said, okay, you need to start expressing your anger. So we did rage therapy. I had pillows, and I would hit things with pillows, and we worked on my ability to express my anger, right? So I got out of there thinking, well, that gives me license to process my anger on every living person in the world, right? It wasn't until I got into religious science that I really understood that it is important to acknowledge your anger. It is important to say, I'm angry, to yourself, not to someone else. I'm angry. And here's the fear that's underneath that. We all have fears of not being loved, fears of being deserted, fears of, leaving us. We have fears of that we're not good enough. We have all these fears that are underneath all that anger. So when we're angry, what we're really trying to do is bypass the fears. And so when we get angry, we need to go back in and work on that and figure out what the anger is about and what the fears are about. And I guarantee you that is a much more effective strategy than taking your anger out on someone else. Because when you're angry and you vent on that other person, all you've done is create another hole in your soul. Have you ever noticed how, like, you get in an argument with somebody and you walk away and you feel just awful? Your heart just feels so bad. It doesn't feel as good as you thought it would feel if you vented on that person, right? And that's because that's inside of ourselves. It's not the other person. The other person is, and I'm going to do a caveat before I even say this. Please do not go out into the world and say, I'm just being a mirror for you. But the truth is, because literally, like one time that happened while I was still processing with my rage. And this person is lucky to have gotten out of there alive, because all I wanted to do was punch her. But what she was telling me, I couldn't see because I was so angry that she said, I'm just being a mirror for you, that I couldn't understand what she was talking about. Later on, much later on, I saw it for myself and was able to heal it. But at the time, no, I couldn't even see it. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't even entertain the thought of it. And so it's really important that you don't go out and say that. But people are mirrors for each other. So if I get mad at somebody because of something they said or something they did, what I need to understand is I got angry because there was a part of me that believed what they were saying, either was afraid it was true, knew it was true, or it was true. You see what I'm saying? And we don't want to face it. So right away, we project that anger onto that other person instead of dealing with it. And the minute that we do that, we've created another hole. We've left another piece of our soul with that person. And what we want to make sure and do is come back to ourselves instead and go, okay, what is this about for me? What am I angry about? What am I afraid of? What is it that I'm, like, is it true? First of all, ask yourself, is it true? If it's not true, or that we don't think it's true, then am I afraid it's true? Or am I thinking it might be true? And you process through that anger to the point where once you get to those feelings of fear, you are no longer angry at that person because you really do understand that it's yours. Because trust me, anytime you get upset by anything that someone says or does, it's yours. It's not theirs. It's not up to them to change what they say or change what they do. It is totally up to you to make the choice to heal it and to make the choice to be happy, right? And so I didn't know all of this. We got together in 1980. Actually, I think we got married in 1980. I can't remember if it was 1980 or 1982. No, it was 1982. And so I got involved in religious science that year. And by the time I really got this, it was like 1990. And so you see, when we had our 10-year anniversary and I finally understood what we were doing to each other and what I needed to work on, I had this idea that he was responsible for my happiness, but I realized that no, I'm responsible for my happiness. And he had this idea that he could do whatever he wanted, whether it hurt me or not, and I should just accept him. Have you ever noticed that? Like, for those of you who've been married, all of a sudden, they chase you, they dress up for you, they shave all the time. And then all of a sudden one day you're married and, oh, I don't need to bathe or shave anymore. And you should just accept me just the way I am. But you stay a princess, okay? Don't put on any weight, because if you do, I'll leave you. You see? And so when you're in the midst of all of that, you have to understand that you're operating out of a myth or a fairy tale. Because there is no person on this earth that can stay a princess her entire life. Well, I guess there are a couple, but I don't know how they do it. And they're rare. They're very rare. And there is no way that we can look at men and not accept them for who they are, right? I have this family that is so interesting. My dad died when I was 2.5. And my mother married this guy when I was 3.5, Leon, and he had 4 boys from a previous marriage. And so it's a yours, mine, and ours family, because then they had Joey. And his ex-wife got into a relationship and he adopted the product of that relationship as well. But this family is so diverse. I mean, really diverse. We span an entire, there's all these generations. I think my oldest brother now would be in his 80s. I'm 66. My sister is in her 50s. So we have the older brother. He was a psychological counselor for a boys camp up in the mountains. And then he later became a guidance counselor for Auraria Community College. The next one down was a cop. He's now retired. He's, I think, 75 now. And then then there was the federal bankruptcy judge, who also is retired. And then the next one down was the adopted one, and he was a cop. He just retired like a year and a half ago. And then there was the hippie photographer. Okay. And he's the one, he died. He was 70 when he died, I believe. He died about 4 years ago. And then there's me, and then there's my sister. Okay. So think about all of that, like how different we all are. Hippie photographer, cops. I mean, right there, it just says it all. Like, talk about trying to get together and have a conversation. But what I had to learn, and what we usually do with family, is, oh, yeah, that's the way he is, but he's my brother, right? I have to accept him as he is because he's my brother. Or I have to accept her the way she is because she's my sister. No, I love my sister. My sister doesn't have to change a thing for me to be happy with her. But I'm just saying, like, my brothers had to look at me and say, well, yeah, she's kind of weird. But she's my sister, so I have to accept her the way she is. Because I don't fit into any of their categories either. Like, I'm sure they would like me better if I had kids and was a housewife and did all those things. And I've always picked men's professions, so I've never fit into the mold that they think I ought to be. But they accept me the way I am. And that's the way family is. But we get into relationships, and all of a sudden we don't do that. All of a sudden it's like, oh, no, you can't just be like that and I'll accept you. You have to be what I want you to be in order for me to be happy. And so we put all these things, these expectations, all of these conditions on that relationship, and then wonder why it doesn't work. One of the things that I treasure and value most about Reverend Dr. Marlene Morris was that she was unconditional in her love for me. And I know for everyone else too. She was the sweetest person on the planet. And I know we're all going to miss her a lot. Another one, see, I'm now the part of the old guard, which is really scary because all of my mentors are now gone. One of those was Reverend Dr. Marjorie Stamm, who was the epitome of unconditional love. She was like the grandmother I never had and just wanted so badly. And being in unconditional love it can be a good thing and it can be hard. Because Marjorie was just that. She just loved you, no matter what. And I was working at Mile High at the time, and I took over the office from someone else, and we had this private office. And it was very nice. I loved my little office. And then one day they came out and said, we're moving you into the lobby to work. We need that office for somebody else. I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. And I tried working there. I tried working in the lobby, but I couldn't hold back the tears. I was crying all the time. I was so upset. And Marjorie's like, oh, honey, come into my office. Tell me what's going on. And I go in there and I'm like, I feel undervalued. I don't feel like you care about me. I don't feel like anybody loves me. I don't feel like, what I do is valued. And she's like, well, you are loved and you are valued and we do care about you. And I said, it doesn't feel that way. And she said, okay, honey, you go ahead and you keep working on that, okay? I won't even begin to tell you what the emotions were like that day, because it just shocked me that someone would, we say God's unconditional. God will let you make mistakes and fall on your face if you're going to learn the lesson you set out to learn, right? And here she was just, being that unconditional love of God for me. And in her class, we were taking Science of Mind 2 at the time. In her class, the assignment was to write a newsletter every week based on the material that you read and how it affected your life, right? And she would, make comments, or she would just say, wonderful, wonderful, with these little doves. She used to make these little doves, little V's all over your page. And this 3-week period, I just blasted her every chance I had, like, I blah blah blah, and I how could I feel this way? And what do you mean I should work on it? And how do I know this stuff is true? What if it's not true? And on and on and on. And every week she would just go, wonderful, wonderful, with the doves. And I wanted her to engage with me. I wanted her to take my side. I wanted her to explain to me how the principles of science of mind were going to get me out of this. I wanted her to validate these feelings, and all she did was love me. And she's been gone a few years now. And I look back on that time and I realize that that was exactly what I needed to do. I had to process through it myself. If she had taken my side, then I would have been justified in my feelings. And if she had explained to me why they were invalid, then I'd been mad at her. And I would have had another justification for my anger. You see what I'm saying? Like, I had to process through it myself. I had to allow myself to really look at where I didn't value myself, where I didn't think I was important, where I didn't love myself, where I didn't care about myself. We think we do. We think we love ourselves. We think we care about ourselves. But if we cared about ourselves, we would never feel like someone else didn't care about us. You see what I'm saying? Like, yes, there's people in the world that don't care about you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if we are feeling that way, it's because we have some unhealed gook in us. There is like a hole that we have left something behind. And in that hole has built up all this gunk inside. And the only way through it is to process through it and release it and then rejoin our relationship. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't do any good to process through it with someone else. You can't really tell them, this is what I'm going through. And they, like I said, they either take your side, which makes you feel justified, and then you're even more angry, or they tell you why you're wrong, and then you're angry at them, right? You ever had that happen? I know I have several times. And so I chose happiness. I chose to be happy at my desk, even if it was in the middle of the lobby. I chose not to grieve my office anymore. I loved that little office. It was so perfect for me. But I needed to understand that I could be happy no matter where I was, and I could do my work no matter where I was. And I'm not saying if you're in an abusive relationship, if someone is abusing you, please don't stick around and process. Get the hell out of that relationship immediately, and then go process. It won't do you any good to try and get closure with that other person. Just get the closure within yourself. Because really, honestly, if they have been abusing you, I'm not saying it's your fault, but you attracted them to you as a mirror for you to show you the unhealed parts of yourself. And so you want to make sure that you get away from them, first of all. And then second of all, you go into it, what it is that drew them to you. Like, what is it in you that was wanting someone like that, that would show you that you weren't loved, that would show you that you weren't worthy, that would show you that you didn't deserve something better. And trust me, I was beat up and left for dead in a Hollywood parking lot. So I was in an abusive relationship, and I know from my own experience what it took for me to heal that experience and why I never drew anyone like that to me again. Now, one of the things that I used as a healing was I got into a class. My very first class in religious science was a workshop that someone paid for me to go through called Barksdale Self-Esteem that Dr. Marjorie used to teach. And one of the premises of that, there's two premises that I took away from that. The first one is that criticism and praise are two ends of the same stick, and I can beat myself to death with either one. If someone is always criticizing me, or let's put it this way, if someone is always praising me and I get addicted to that praise, then when they pull that praise away, I'm devastated, right? And if they're always criticizing me and one day all of a sudden they say something nice to me, then I take all of the critical things they said about me and I beat myself up with those criticisms, right? And so when you have good self-esteem, you no longer need praise and you don't need criticism. You no longer will put up with criticism and you no longer need to have anybody praise you, because the praise is within yourself. You know when you've done a good job. You know when you look pretty. You know when you're in the right place at the right time. You know all of this. The other premise is about, sure, all of a sudden it's out of my head, prevailing awareness. And in that program, what we teach is that you can only do what you would rather do than not do. And you can only do what your prevailing awareness would allow you to do. Now, what that means is that if I have a certain prevailing awareness, like in the beginning of our relationship with Lynn and I had the fairy tale, right? That Lynn was going to provide all my happiness. Like he was going to be there for my birthday. He was going to be there for Valentine's Day. He was going to provide blah, 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 blah. And through all of the teachings that I studied and all of the experiences that I had, I developed a new prevailing awareness, because what happens to us is as we grow, we get a new prevailing awareness, and that's where we make our decisions out of, is that new prevailing awareness. And so we need to look at, instead of beating ourselves up for things that we have done, because we couldn't do any better with the prevailing awareness that we had, we want to learn about ourselves and heal ourselves so that we have a new prevailing awareness that will take us into the happiness that we want to see. You see what I'm saying? So your job this week, if you decide to accept it, is to look at all those places in a relationship, whether that be a family member or a friend or a spouse. Look at all of those places where we are counting on them to provide something that will make us feel better. And understand that it's your job for your own feel goods to be able to provide that for yourself. Stop looking to them to provide anything for you. You need to provide that for yourself. So this week, I'd like you to look at those relationships, find out what it is that you have been expecting from those other people, unmet expectations that you haven't even voiced probably, and heal those expectations within yourself. Look at what you're afraid of. Look at why you're angry. Look at why they don't fulfill you, and look at ways you can provide your own happiness, your own feel goods, because reality is that's the only place you can find them is within yourself. Are you willing to work on that with me this week? Okay, let's have a prayer. So right now, I just bring my awareness to the infinite power, the infinite presence of God, to that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful God is, how wonderful God is, how amazing God is. The love, the life, the power, the presence. For that is where I find myself, in the midst of God. My very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that one ancient wisdom of the ages that lives within me. I know that same truth to be so for each team member that God has provided me, for I know that Tina and Faith and Lynn and Oz and Karen and Elaine are one in that life of God. They are in the midst of God, their very essence, their very life, their very being, for it is who and what they are. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that one ancient wisdom of the ages that is God flowing through. As I know it also for every person who is watching this, whether that be in real time or later on, because I do know that there's only one life, one power, one presence, one love, and we are of it and through it, and it is us. It is who and what we are. And there is no place where one leaves off and the other begins. There is only God, only love, only life, only power, only presence. Mitakuos and all my brethren, we are all related. And so I bless this coming week with an awareness of our piece of the puzzle. The pieces that we've given away and are calling back now. The pieces that we have retained that maybe need to be let go of. We become aware in this coming week of every place where we have been looking to another for comfort, for happiness, for peace, for love. Recognizing that we are the only ones that can give that to ourselves. The gift is already given. It was given by God through us before we were born. And so we accept that gift in God and stop looking to people for that. Let go of the myths and the fairy tales that we have been living. We let go of all of that now. And so I know that every prayer request that is in the ministry of prayer right now, whatever condition they are experiencing, God is the power behind or underneath or supporting them in love through whatever that condition is. But I know the power of God is more powerful than anything we can experience. And so I pull back the veil and reveal that truth, claiming for them the good that is already there, the gift that was already given, the peace, the power, the love, the abundance, the prosperity, the health, the good. I claim it now as good and very good. I claim it in their name. I give thanks for it right here, right now. My heart overflows with gratitude that this is so. And so I just let it be. And so it is. Well, okay. back to business here. It is so easy for me to get lost in prayer and not be able to come back to do this kind of stuff. The mundane things that have to be done. Excuse me. Not that I think your giving is mundane, please understand. It's just my needing to communicate that. So this is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to give thanks for that which you have already received in physical form, or that which you have already created in the mind of God but may not see in the physical form just yet. So I'm going to invite you to go to, in a minute, I'm going to invite you to go to oasiscsl.org. And about 2/3 down the page is our offering affirmation. I'll have you say that with me and then click on the Contribute Now button that's underneath it. But let me talk about contribution for a minute. What you're contributing to is the uplifting and inspiring of the world. I mean, I know that sounds like a big thing, but person by person, we achieve that vision. And how we achieve that vision is by marketing to the global world. And so we make this message, God's message, available to people to receive inspiration and upliftment, without which they may not experience their best life, right? And so when you're contributing, that's what it's about. You are contributing to that vision. You are contributing to us being able to get that message out so people can be uplifted and inspired on a weekly basis, and hopefully through the week as well. And so that's what you're contributing to. So please join me now at www.oasiscsl.org. And about 2/3 down the page, maybe the middle of the page, you're going to see our offering affirmation. Please say that with me now, whether you're listening in real time or you're listening later. You can do it with us right here, right now. Say this offering affirmation with me. This perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive, and so it is. Please click on that Contribute Now button and help us get this message out into the world. All right. We have this wonderful ministry of prayer. The ministry of prayer, by the way, our practitioners, our licensed practitioners, are the healing arm of our churches. And we always like to acknowledge them because going to a practitioner, they can see the truth for you, the spiritual truth for you, when you are unable to see it yet for yourself. But they can also teach you to see it for yourself. That's what our practitioners do, our licensed practitioners do. And one of the ways in which they serve is through the ministry of prayer. So if you would like prayer for something, please put it in the comments section. If you don't want it to be public, you can always message Faith or myself, and we will make sure that it gets on this page it's a group page that's private. Only what we call our God Squad, which is our licensed practitioners, only our God Squad can see those prayer requests. So, and so put it in the comment or message Faith or I, and we'll get it put on that page so that our practitioners can work on it. And if you're interested in serving on the God Squad, you don't necessarily have to be a licensed practitioner. We do require that you do affirmative prayer, not begging or, beseeching God, but doing affirmative prayer, and that you do it every day for a week, and that you keep these requests confidential. You don't even tell your spouse about them. And so that's what's required. If you would like to be part of that, you can type yes in the comment field, and Faith will add you to our God Squad for that page. All right. And also know that our licensed practitioners are available for a fee for spiritual guidance, because this 1-minute miracle that Oz will be doing after the service is about you sharing with him whatever issue you're experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. That's what our licensed practitioners do. They pray with you so that they can see the truth for you until you can see it for yourself. But he's available for our 1-minute miracle after the service. You just video chat him, and if he doesn't answer right away, it means he's on with someone else. So just be patient and try again later. But besides that, because he doesn't do any counseling or any spiritual guidance during that time, our licensed practitioners are available for that, for spiritual guidance for a fee by appointment only. So if you are interested in doing that, you can reach out either through our website. Excuse me. If you find a practitioner that tickles your fancy, you can either reach out through them through the website or through Facebook, and let them know that you would like an appointment. They'll arrange payment for you somehow. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, I don't know. Wired, I think, is another one. I don't get involved in any of that. That's their business. But you can let them know, and they'll arrange payment, and then they set an appointment with you, and they will reach out to you by video chat so that you can be in the presence of them while they're doing their prayer work and guiding you. All right. Also, if you would like to be part of our public-facing group page, our online community, if it was, as it is, I can't talk all of a sudden. Please put in the comments more, and Faith will add you to our public-facing page. Also, we have a few people that we like to acknowledge. They provide for us. We like to provide for them. First of all is Brooks and Bailey. They have mala beads and bracelets that they hand make. They're really beautiful. All proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue. And you can reach out to them through brooksandbailey0307@gmail.com or go on their Facebook page. I was going to grab one of the mala beads that they were showing just yesterday, I think it was. These are my mala beads. I asked to have them in amethyst, obviously. And so they're $60. But the ones that they were showing yesterday on Facebook were like $35, which is very reasonable when you consider what mala beads are really for. Is like if you're doing the Buddhists use them like this, they go through repetitions. But I like to use them for affirmations. There's 104 beads on a mala bead necklace. So you go through 100 times and do your affirmations, you've got the 100 covered. So that's what I use them for. But definitely go check them out. They have some wonderful stuff. And then Faith.
And please check out my metaphysical store. We have intention jars as well as kits to make your own, as well as bath salts. Basically, the idea is that using different herbs or essential oils, we're helping you attract whatever your intention is and help that manifest and bring into your life even heavier.
Yes. It's a perfect way to be able to focus, like essential oils in particular, candles that have a certain smell. Those really help us focus. This is my intention jar that Faith made me. These are $15, and that one's for prosperity. So when I'm working on prosperity, I use that just as a focal point and kind of play with it. It's really pretty. And then we have Angel Renee has these intention candles and an intention tea bag that you put into your bath. Again, the smells activate your ability to manifest that intention that you're working on for yourself. All right. So we are now going to move into our, and I forgot, Reverend Fairy Elaine's music. Go on her website, see what CD you want. You will have to contact her by email because she can't update her website to say, this is how you can pay me. She travels around the country all the time singing. And so she has the CDs in her trunk. And she will let you know how to pay her, and then we'll send you the CD that you want. Karen Drucker, on the other hand, her website does work. You can purchase it by song, by songbook, by CD, and you can pay for it right then and there and receive it. So check out our website too, oasiscsl.org. You can see all kinds of things that we've done in the church, picnics and that kind of thing, so you can get to know who we are as a group. Also, my ordination's there. Lynn's ordination is there. And you can see previous sermons. The most current ones are video. The years ago ones are audio. We're available on SoundCloud for the audio and YouTube for the video under S. Tucker. So you can also go there for ones that I haven't gotten updated to the website yet. So let's move into our last song for the day. This is great to get as a meme in your head. So if you don't know the words, start learning them.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And right now, I know that the perfection of God permeates our very being. It runs through all life, in and around us. And I look forward to a week encountering God in all that I see. And for that blessing, I give great thanks, and I let it be so, and so it is.
And so it is. I said, and so it is before I even came on. I'm like, I'm not back all the way, apparently. Oh, well. It's all good. Thank you so much for being here. I know that there's 1,000 places you could be on a Sunday morning, a lot of things you could be doing, and we're blessed that you were here with us. Stay safe. Tune in next week at 10:30 a.m. and Mountain Time, and tune in every Sunday. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. We love you. Thank you for being here. Until next week. Bye.
Namaste.